All right, so you've got a vertical ellipse on your paper, and I did the best I could. What you didn't see was like I had to practice like 4 times just to get to that. So appreciate that because I had all kinds of loop-sided drawn before I started the recording. So this is a vertical ellipse. Remember, you've got two different kinds. What I'd like you to do really quick is go ahead and put in your axes. And then let's try to label everything just so you have it for the vertical ellipse as well. So really quick, you got to remember that your major axis is always going to be the longer one. So the major axis in this case will be vertical. So if you have a vertical ellipse, you're going to have a vertical major axis. Just like with the horizontal, you had a horizontal major axis. So let's just start here. Try to get it in the center. Whoops, that's not the center. As much as you can. That is your major axis. And if you recall, what did I just tell you always goes on the major axis? Hopefully you remember that is your vertices. So we can go ahead and we'll just label those. There's your vertices. And then once you've got your vertices, let's get that minor axis. There's your minor axis. And your co-vertices, those were purple. Those always are on your minor axis. Should be co. And I'll go ahead and label, I didn't label, that's your minor axis. It's just good practice for you guys to do this because you're going to have to do it, at least the points on in a minute. And then the intersection of your axes, that's where your center should be. There's your C for center. And then your focus points, the F, the focus points, those are always between the vertex and the center. So let's go ahead and just eyeball those really quick. I did those in blue. So we'll just put those in there between the center and the vertex. So that's all the points, all the parts that you will need to identify. But now I need to tell you how. Now, if you remember, when I introduced to you parabolas, you realized that the distance between the points was very important. That if you just knew, the distance between the points, then you could probably find just about everything you needed. Now, it's the same case with the ellipse, except the distance is not going to be the same. In the parabola, the distance was the same. So you knew, if you knew your P, you knew how to find your focus point and your directrix. But in this case, because these minor and major axes are different distances away from the center, those vertices are different distances away from the center, you're not going to have the same distance. So here's how you want to break this down. It's going to be A, B, C. And if you keep it in this order, it'll be easier to remember. Now, your A, the letter A, and we're going to see these letters in a minute in your equation. Your letter A is going to be the distance from the vertex, and I'm only going to write one, but you got to know it's either one, okay? The distance from the vertex to the center, okay? That distance we will label as A. So that will be vertex to the center. If you want to go to your vertical ellipse, that's where your A would be, vertex to the center. Now our next distance we're going to label B. That's going to be the distance from your co-vertex to the center. All right? So in this case, go here, from the co-vertex to the center, that's your B. Now, here's some common sense. Because the major axis is going to be longer, and it doesn't matter which one we're talking about, your major axis is going to be longer. That means that your vertices are going to be further away from the center than the co-vertices. So that means that your distance A will always be greater than your distance B. And if you want to write that down, you can. I'll say it again. The distance A will always be greater than distance B because it's a further distance away. All right? That's going to be important in a second. Now we got one more distance to talk about. You may have figured it out already. That's going to be letter C. And letter C is the distance from the focus point, or from a focus point, since there's two, to the center. So everything is going to the center. So that is actually going to be distance C. Now, in a minute, you'll see that, S-E-E, that we're just going to count for some of these. It'll be easy to find these just like we counted for the parabola. But because there's 3 different distances, that's 3 different values, you cannot get these mixed up. All right? Now, make sure you write this down. Got everything? Next video.